From visual effects to special effects, the digital to the practical, in camera or in post, films are magic tricks. And in this series, we like to take a look at how those tricks were pulled off from the earliest films to the more modern. As always, I'm going to show Josh and Justin a clip of one of these tricks to see if they can guess how it was done and give you a chance to guess before they do. As always, you're going to hit play on the clip and try to figure out how they pulled off the effect that they did at the time that they did it in.
And then spacebar.
Yeah.
What? This is a man on a telephone. What is the effect?
Just Bigfoot's little tater tot coming in.
Well, now you got me looking at the finger. That finger is fake as hell. I did not notice that.
Just a giant phallic-shaped thumb with a...
That is the fakest finger.
Yeah, I think it's just a massive finger prop.
Is it just like a really big finger?
I'm a massive Hitchcock fan, with Dial M for Murder being one of my favorites, but even after seeing this film over 10 times, I never noticed the giant fake finger. In 1953, when the film was shot, 3D was the trend, so Warner Brothers forced Hitchcock to shoot Dial M with 3D cameras, which makes no sense at all, but does explain shots like this. Funny enough, when the film came out in 1954, 3D was already dying down, and the film was seen more in 2D than in 3D, but the film did have a 3D re-release in the 80s. But the big, and as it would turn out, unnecessary problem these cameras caused for Hitchcock is that it made the extreme close-ups really impractical. So when it came time to get this shot, the solution was build it huge. Hitchcock had a massive rotary phone constructed, used for the opening credits, and a giant finger as well used in the moment that Tony makes the call that draws his wife out for the trap. So a mildly hilarious solution to an unneeded problem that you will now never be able to unsee. You're welcome.
I don't know what I'm looking at.
Oh, is this that Werner Herzog story?
This is the longest shot of I don't know what I'm looking at.
I haven't seen this movie, but I have a vague memory of some sort of behind the scenes thing where he somehow paid the locals to somehow pull it themselves.
I'm definitely on miniature. Either that or they actually just did it, but that looks miniature.
There's two shots I want to talk about from this film, but with this first one, the craziest fact about it is that they just did it for real. They actually pulled this ship up the hill using all of these extras they got from the area. So you have these indigenous people helping do this, something like almost 1,000 of them, and this did not happen without injury, but we'll get more into that after we look at the second shot.
I would say based on how they did the pulling of the boat, the first sequence is just real. They floated down, but then the second sequence where it's in the kind of rapids is a miniature.
That is a toy. That is a miniature. That is absolutely a miniature. And if you say that's real, you're wrong. That's a miniature. I am looking at a toy. That is so obviously a miniature. Okay, now that's real. So a mixture of real and miniature.
Similar to that last shot, the rapids were done mostly for real as well, with cast and crew on the actual boat as it went down these turbulent waters. There are a few obvious miniature shots used in that sequence, but for the most part, they really did it. If all of this sounds insane, that's because it is. The film was low budget and without proper safety measures in place that led to the death of several indigenous extras, multiple other injuries like a member of the crew chainsawing his own foot off after a venomous snake bite. Another member of the crew was shot in the neck with an arrow after being attacked by a local tribe that Werner Herzog pissed off, which apparently happened all due to horrible conditions Herzog created for the almost 1,000 indigenous extras, and the cinematographer split his hand open, needing 10 stitches, which he had to have done without anesthetic since all of that was used up from the previous major issue. And I could go on. Like the time an indigenous chief offered to kill the lead actor for Herzog since the actor and Herzog were butting heads so aggressively during the shoot. So, not great leadership.
I would not want to go to space, but I would like to experience weightlessness.
My boy Tom Hanks. God, he looks so young.
My guess is a simulator of some kind, where they actually do it. They built a set with the ability to do it.
It looks too real, and the quarters that they're in, there's no way some of it's wire work. So they have to do that that airplane thing where they're actually simulating no gravity.
The look on their faces looks like they're doing it for real.
I love this film so much. It holds up completely, and if you haven't seen it, fix that ASAP. It's another film that just had me obsessed with its use of effects, not because they were big and flashy, but because it all felt effortless and grounded, just a part of the story being told. The weightlessness is a great example of that. It's the best portrayal of weightlessness that I had seen at the time, and that's because they did it for real. In a specially modified aircraft that they nicknamed the Vomit Comet, they would ascend to their peak, then pitch down at a 45-degree angle, creating essentially a free fall for those inside the craft, which of course was built out to look like the interior of Apollo 13. They did this over and over again, with each free fall giving them 23 seconds of 0G. So not all of the shots in the film were done this way. Others were clever uses of close-ups and little tricks, but after establishing this fantastic weightless effect, it becomes very easy to sell those smaller moments throughout. We have 3 more, including another one from Apollo 13, but first...
Hello. I've been expecting your company, and I am delighted you've arrived. Something's been weighing on my mind. Something heavier than my 111-foot yacht. It tugs at my heartstrings, as if Gustave Van de Beau plucked the strings himself. Look at me. Look at me more. Stare at my left eye. It's where I keep my deepest, darkest secrets. Yes, it's true. I too once was a lowlife, a scallywag, a no-money-having street rat. I was not better than you. I am now, but that's besides the point. I was just like you once, sad, cold, lifeless. Cold it was, being like you, but that's when I found it. Ah, yes, I see it now. The carriage of excellence, bringing me to where I am today. The light in the dark, the taste of higher purpose in this barren wasteland of the mundane. It was music bed. It took me by the hand and led me to the truth, and the truth is music bed. And so they're the only brand I trust when it comes to storytelling. They have an abundant amount of music to push whatever emotion my story needs. Don't get it? Allow me to explain.
Yeah, I'm hot, so hot. Everyone's jaw's gonna drop.
Plays my emotions like a fiddle, and they have a roster of independent artists with over 60,000 songs you will not find anywhere else. They're also the most curated, because MusicBed handpicks every artist in its exclusive roster, which are all curated for your projects. As they did with me when I switched, they will take you by the hand and lead you to absolute excellence. So let your films and projects spread their wings and glide on the wind of MusicBed. Don't just take it from me, although you should, because I'm better than you. You can switch for yourself and hear the difference by signing up for a free account. And because I have sympathy for the downtrodden, sign up for a free 14-day trial found in the description below. And then you and I will be equals once again. Imagine it. Oh, no. Diabolical. I feel better.
Did you know that I actually haven't seen Apollo 13?
What?
I know.
I just watched this like 2 days ago, and it's insane how good this still looks too.
I mean, it kind of has a little bit of everything.
Like all the ice falling off the thing is so cool.
It seems to me that they just did a little bit of everything. VFX, some miniature work, some real explosions, you know, all the inserts of the astronauts combining together, and then just some full CG shots of the rocket.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a mixture of multiple effects where it's practical but also CG. Like miniature work is definitely in there.
This launch sequence is easily my favorite in the film. At the time, shuttle launches were something everyone talked about and watched, so I had seen a few launches on TV and even went to a few personally, so how authentic they were able to make this sequence feel really fascinated me. Effects supervisor Rob Legato opted to use a mix of miniature, practical fire elements, and plates to combine for that final effect. Like this shot here with the miniature rocket composited with the background footage of the actual Cape Canaveral and fire elements shot in a controlled environment. Of course, the team had a ton of footage from NASA to use as reference, but in the end, of course, it came down to what scale they were using and at what frame rate they were shooting it at, like this shot of the engines kicking off. In reality, you have this 1/8 scale of the engines and a flame that only lasts for a brief moment, but in the end, you have this incredibly convincing shot. Even the return utilized miniatures to land as realistic of a recreation as possible, making a 3/4 miniature scale capsule and nylon parachute that were 21 feet in diameter, and then in the end they attach that capsule to a helicopter mounted with a mechanism that can be triggered to drop the miniature on cue. With 5 cameras rolling, they drop the capsule to land in the ocean just like the real deal. Of course, the film employed plenty of digital effects as well, compositing and 3D, but I think it's the mixture of those practical elements and the digital that makes this so timeless.
This is one of my favorite films. I love this movie so much.
Ooh, that's fun. The production value of this movie seems like they would do it for real.
There's so many effects in this movie that are insane.
A little Texas switch around the corner, maybe, to her double when she crosses just the back of her. And then the real Slim Shady's already in the kitchen.
It kind of just looks like they're cutting on the pans.
There's a little hidden door on the bottom right. A little laundry chute, a little doggy door.
No, I'm just going to say they just cuts, hidden cuts.
Even though Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was released in 2004, it utilized a ton of in-camera tricks, from the simple to the more complex, like this shot of Clementine popping into different rooms of the house. Your first guess may be hidden cuts, but this was all done real-time, in-camera, and incredibly simply. For instance, here in the bathroom, Kate Winslet escapes through a hidden door in the set. Then here, a body double is used to get her out the front door. As Michel Gondry often does, the very simple sleight of hand here happens so fast and unceremoniously that it all just plays out without you really questioning much. But then you have moments that do play much louder, like the great forced perspective tricks they've used. Instead of me explaining how they did this shot exactly, I'm gonna let the director do it himself.
You are witnessing a special effect done directly in cameras. So I am in my dimension, in my size, and now I want to reach his dimension, which is half of mine. So I just basically have to work on join him. Hey, how's it going?
And it doesn't get more movie magic than that.
God, when this movie came out, it absolutely blew my brain out my face. This movie also has some of the coolest slow motion ever shot in the history of time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just on a dolly profile with them and just doing some heavy zoom work.
The zooming in and out, I'm assuming?
Yes. Feels like some really great operation by the camera operator.
2 different cameras right next to each other, both on separate focal lengths, and they just stitch the 2.
To pull off this fast zoom during slow motion, there were 3 cameras all shooting the same action at different focal lengths, a 21mm, a 50mm, and a 100mm lens. And originally, they planned to shoot this using specific rig that would mount 3 cameras together and line up their lenses using a beam splitter. But after some focus issues, they opted to mount the cameras as close as possible to each other, all shooting in the same direction instead. Then, with their footage shot, they could create digital zooms to stitch those different shots together seamlessly and have full control over those zooms in post, ending with some of the most iconic shots of the 2000s.
I think they did this after watching Film Riot's old episode of Josh parachuting with Bruno.
I think I know how they did this. Just the close-up shots?
Yes.
Wasn't it just a mirror?
Yeah, a little bit of shaky cam and some wind.
One of the things I love about J.J. Abrams is how much he uses comically simple run-and-gun style old Hollywood tricks to accomplish things that usually they would use more complicated solutions for. And this goes all the way back to his work on Lost, which we'll probably talk about at some point. But one of my favorite tricks he pulled off in 2009's Star Trek, a film with a budget of $150 million, was this shot here. Off the bat, you'd assume green screen and wire work, which there was plenty done in this sequence as well, but when it came to the actors' close-ups like this here, they had the actors stand on a mirror so that their background was the sky and they could just film down on them. No green screen needed, all done in camera, which allowed J.J. Abrams to shake the hell out of the camera to get that sense of chaos for the sequence. If you look at the behind-the-scenes footage, it looks really ridiculous, especially when you just have 2 actors hugging each other and spinning in circles. But in the end, the shots cut in perfectly, and some of that organic approach with the shake was brought to the CG work as well. Since Abrams was shaking the camera so often, giving it that organic, chaotic movement, the VFX team used a sensor that would translate movement to their digital camera to get that same feel for the digital shots as well, just tapping on their desk or the sensor to get that same look. It's a great example of the practical, low-budget tricks making their way throughout the pipeline to create a unified whole. Another great trick he pulled was using children to make small sets look larger. For this scene here, children were dressed to match their adult counterparts to make a smaller and therefore cheaper set look the correct size. And although this moment wasn't used, the same effect was used in this shot here where Kirk runs into the snowy cave.
Look at those ears, dude. Just want to flick the out those ears. What? What is happening?
He goes in.
Oh!
Just guessing how they swapped the sets.
Yeah.
Are they on? Okay. Two sets right next to each other, and the room just spins, and they come out the separate set.
My guess is that the elevator contraption is just turns in place to reveal the other side of the set.
This is such a simple thing that could have been handled with a cut, but holding on the shot really does give a sense of scale and legitimacy. We see Spock enter the elevator, a specific set behind him, then a simple light gag to give a sense of movement, and when the doors open, it's an entirely different set. And the simplest answer here is the right one. The elevator set wasn't built to rotate or anything like that. It opens only to the bridge, so as Spock walks in, a small green screen is held behind him, then we get the light gag that gives us the motion, and then when the doors open back up, they open to the bridge as well, but without the green screen. Then in post, they composite photography from another set, and there you have it. But that's it for today. If you dig this series, we have 5 other episodes that you can check out on our page playlist below as well. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified when we put up more content. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.